enough to give everybody one to take.
There we go. Exactly.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ron Starner with Site Selection Magazine, here to present a very distinctive honor to the state of Texas, and specifically Governor Greg Abbott this morning. You know, the word dynasty is often associated with legendary sports teams. You're no stranger to that. You may recall the Dallas Cowboys of the 70s and the 90s, the San Antonio Spurs of the 2000s, and the Houston Comets of the WNBA, won the very first 4 WNBA titles in the late 90s. When we talk about dynasty, it's really about excellence, and we know excellence when we see it. Being a dynasty isn't just about winning, it is about how you win and how often you do it. Well, it is time to start talking about the state of Texas as an economic development dynasty. The highest award that any state can receive for economic development is the Site Selection Magazine Governor's Cup Trophy, which annually goes to the state that produces the most corporate real estate investment projects in the country. Our Atlanta-based magazine inaugurated this award in 1988, exactly 38 years ago today. Being a dynasty means that you show longevity in winning, and that you win consistently in dominant fashion. By that measurement, no other state comes close to Texas. Since 2000, Site Selection has bestowed the Governor's Cup 26 times. Texas has won the trophy 16 of those times. Ohio is the next closest with 6. No other state has 2. Today, I am here to award the Site Selection Governor's Cup Trophy to Texas Governor Greg Abbott for a record 17th time this century, including, are you ready for this? 14 years in a row. To put that into perspective, you have to go all the way back to 2012 to find a state other than Texas on the cover of the March issue of Site Selection. So Texas did not just win the Governor's Cup this time, it obliterated the record books by registering a nation-leading 1,406 projects. That's more than double the tally of second-place Illinois and more than triple the count of third-place Ohio. This is significant because the crown jewel of economic development work is landing good jobs for your citizens, and nobody does that better than Texas. It's also significant because corporate executives and site consultants worldwide rely on our magazine, Site Selection, for timely news and data on corporate site selection trends and activity. So we've been at this for 72 years. It is why our nickname in economic development is the Bible of Corporate Site Selection. We also recognize that when we measure the performance of states, we are also measuring the performance of the people who work day in and day out to do this job. These are people like Governor Abbott, Adriana Cruz, Aaron Demerson, and a host of other state, local, and regional leaders. But we specifically call it the Governor's Cup because we recognize that the buck stops literally right here at the governor's mansion. The governor of a state sets the tone for strategy, leadership, and execution of all economic development activity statewide. Texas first began winning Governor's Cups back in 2005, and now it is claiming them perennially under the leadership of Governor Greg Abbott. So per our magazine's methodology, that means he's the best in the business. Congratulations, Governor Abbott. You and your entire team have earned the Site Selection Governor's Cup for a record 14th year in a row and the 17th time since the year 2000. The dynasty continues.
That's awesome. Here, hold up on your side. That's awesome. Thank you. Well, Ron, thank you very much. And a couple of things. One is it looks like Texas is going to have to get a bigger table to accommodate all of these trophies. For another, I think this is the first time you and I have met, but you tapped into my brain quite well. by coming up with a sports metaphor about the dynasty that Texas has. And I will extend that metaphor by saying that just I, as governor alone for the state of Texas, have won more Governor's Cup national championships for economic development than the combination of Nick Saban and Tom Brady combined. And so I need to be the one in that duck commercial that Nick Saban is in, but one of these days. On behalf of the state of Texas, we're proud to have you here. I want to let you know that one reason why Texas continues to win these is because we have weather like this every single day that attracts people to the state. But more so than that, we, as you point out, have the best team in America. And that team is broad and substantial, and I want to recount just a little bit of it real quick. Obviously, we have with us what would be our national and international ambassador behind me, and that is the Texas Secretary of State, Jane Nelson. But to continue the sports metaphor, every team has a most valuable player. And in Texas, our most valuable player is Adriana Cruz, who's the head of economic development in the governor's office for the great state of Texas. But she knows that she has a team filled with great teammates, probably nobody else more important to ensure that Texas remains first and foremost among states across the entire world, and that is the head of the Texas Economic Development Corporation, Aaron Demerson. Aaron, thank you. And I also want to thank the Texas Workforce Commission. Listen, the Texas Workforce Commission, they provide so much assistance and guidance to employers who are currently here, as well as those who are seeking to come here, ensuring that Texas is going to provide the skilled workforce that our employers demand. In turn, that leads to good-paying jobs for more Texans. And it is very helpful to have the Texas Workforce Commission, as well as, very importantly, all the people who are standing on the steps behind me. It's a combination of two groups. One is the group of professionals across the state of Texas, literally from West Texas to East Texas to North Texas to South Texas, and many parts in between. These local economic development teams may be the difference maker in Texas that differentiates us from other states. The fact of the matter is, on a daily and weekly basis, our local economic development teams and leaders, they are working to compete against other communities in Texas, compete against other states, and sometimes even compete against other countries. And when we have so many of those robust local economic development teams working alongside the state of Texas, that just is wind at our back to ensure we will be leading in projects now and going forward. Speaking of projects, this is not 14 and done for the state of Texas. We no doubt are on track to be in a very meaningful position this coming year. Texas, as we speak right now, has well over 400 projects in the queue. They're economic development projects that we have a great chance of landing over the course of the next 12 months and ensuring that Texas should be on a pathway to once again ranking #1 in the United States of America. And then, very importantly, are the businesses who make decisions to either come to the state of Texas or who are already here who make the decision to invest more in the state of Texas. Regardless, what they have found is that the state of Texas offers the best platform for them to be able to achieve. Let me outline some of those aspects and connect with one of the most important. Because of these businesses, because of what we've done economically, Texas ranks #1 in the United States for the most new jobs, #1 for the most new economic development projects, #1 in the United States for the most capital investment. Texas ranks at #1 for the value of goods produced. We rank #1 for the most new corporate headquarter relocations. During my time as governor, there have been more than 300 of those corporate headquarter relocations to the state of Texas. But very importantly, Texas also ranks number one as the best business climate. Let me underscore that for a moment. It's that business climate that businesses look to when they want to make a decision about where they should locate. They need to know that the climate they're going into is not a climate that's hostile, that's going to be imposing more taxes and regulations and make it more difficult to operate. They want to go to a climate that's business friendly. And Texas has clearly established the most business friendly climate of any state in the United States. And just as important as me talking about, let's say, Fortune 500 company headquarters that are moving here, the fact of the matter is that more than 98% of all businesses in our state are small businesses. And we work every day trying to find ways to assist and aid and support our small businesses in the state, knowing that they are the backbone of the Texas economy. And when you look at what these businesses have done for our state, they've ensured ongoing prosperity for literally decades to come. What they've helped Texas to achieve is perhaps the most diversified economy in the United States. There was a time when Texas was known as an oil and gas state. And yeah, we're still number one for oil and gas. We're still number one for cattle and cotton. But if you look at the careful work that we've put in, creating a master plan for the future of the state of Texas, you can see that we are on a trajectory to ensure our economic diversification is going to inoculate us in good times as well as in bad times, to ensure our economy is still going to grow, still create new jobs, create prosperity opportunities for Texans going forward. As just some examples, Texas ranks number one for the most employees working in the finance sector. That's why it was just natural for Texas and in particular Dallas to be now what seems to be the leading location in the United States for stock exchanges. It's the location for the new Texas Stock Exchange. And when the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ Stock Exchange realized that Texas has its own stock exchange, and when they realized that most of their listings are right here in the state of Texas, they realized they needed to set up regional headquarters in Texas where they would be doing trading from right here in the state of Texas. And this is something that's just going to accelerate, knowing that those stock exchanges I just mentioned are operating in a city that's now run by a communist, whereas Texas, to the contrary, is the most capitalistic state in the United States of America. Being that we're number one for capital investment, it just makes sense that Texas is going to be number one in the United States of America for capital markets like stock exchanges. We also lead the nation already in technology as well as exports of technology. Texas ranks number one in the United States for semiconductor manufacturing and semiconductor exports. And when you look at where we are going forward, Texas is the fastest growing economy in the United States of America for space as well as for artificial intelligence. Those are two of the key drivers of global economics going out 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 decades. Texas is the best positioned state for all of those, especially when you take into consideration that everything that's being built in the United States of America depends upon one source of power, and that is electricity. Texas also happens to rank number one in the United States for electricity generation, so much so, Texas produces more electrical generation than the second and third states combined. There is no state that's better designed or better positioned than the state of Texas economically now and going forward. And so the dominance that you're talking about, the dynasty that you're talking about, Texas is well positioned to ensure that dynasty continues for generations to come in the state of Texas. But again, the success we have achieved today would not exist without the people behind me and their peers across the state who work with us to ensure Texas remains the best state in America to do business. Thank you all very much. I'll take a few questions.
had the shooting, we have the election coming up, we have Iran. Are we worried about security, increased security? Are we going to try and do that for the election?
So you mentioned what's going on in Iran, and what I did immediately, hours after the attack took place, I made an announcement that the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas National Guard have already been deployed to ensure that strategies are underway to make sure that we're going to be able to deal with any terroristic concerns or invasions or attacks or whatever, whether it be to public safety or to the election process. Know also that we now have the new Texas Cyber Command, and we have the best leader in the country leading the Cyber Command, who is working with us to ensure that we will be safeguarded against cyber attacks also. And so I could not be more clear than to inform Texans that as long as this war is going on, we need to be safe against potential attacks like what happened in Austin, Texas this past weekend, to make sure we all remain vigilant, but also informing the public that Texas has redoubled the personnel on the ground to make sure we keep our communities as safe as possible. Yeah, so the